ولكن أكثر الناس لا يشكرون يا صاحبي السجن أأرباب متفرقون خير أم الله الواحد القهار ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Assalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum إخواننا وأخواتنا في دين والسلام على تبع من تبع هدى للإخوان وأخواتي في كل مكان. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters who will show up, inshallah, ta'ala. And I see my brother Isaac is here. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother. And hoping I see others up here for the second part of my khutbah, which means a sermon on a very important topic of Aqeedah, which means faith. Assalamu alaikum, my dear sister. Glad to see you come here. Wijni, long name, some of your name here I can't pronounce. Please forgive me, but dear sister, you definitely are in my heart. Thank you very much for coming. Assalamu alaikum, Abina. Appreciate you, dear sister. This topic is a needed topic in the sense that we are hurting as Muslims, and also for the non-Muslims to understand actually what it is to be a Muslim. And as I stated in my previous khutbah last week, that the Muslims can't actually describe themselves as why they're Muslim or their faith. And the non-Muslims are confused as well, since the Muslims are confused about what actually means their faith, be Islam or be Islamic or a Muslim. The non-Muslims as well are confused. So I'm taking time to discuss this with my brothers and sisters to enlighten them on their faith, because you cannot have this feeling, the good feeling in your heart, without knowing what are you worshiping and who are you worshiping and what is the details of why you worship. These things again are lacking with many Muslims. We see this today. You see all over the place. You ask a Muslim, what do you guys actually believe? And some will give you a variety of answers. And some will give you a diatribe for 10 minutes explaining, still leaving the person who asked the question in a confused state. And the Aqeedah Islamiyah, the faith, the Islamic faith, is essential to understanding in order to get subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. And how can you say that you are a Muslim and that you worship when you can't explain what you are worshiping and why you're worshiping? And so this is a problem. And I'm hoping, inshallah ta'ala, that I can help some to understand why they are Muslim and what their faith entails. Okay, last week I discussed quite a few factors about the Aqeedah, the fundamentals of it, and I'll go over a little bit of what happened last week. I discussed about Islam, the first part of Islam, which is actually taking in your declaration and putting in your faith and put it in your heart. And then the second part to Islam is actual practice, meaning making your ablution, your wudu, as we say in Arabic, your ablution before prayer and your prayer, and then living a Islamic life. This is the second part of what Islam actually means, is that implementation. And the implementation is judged by the angels who write a book on you. And then this book is, of course, handed over on Day of Judgment about your good deeds and whatnot. And so the second part of Islam, also we're troubled as Muslims, because many of us are practicing many different varieties of ways which are wrong in Islam. And those are the topics too. Hopefully, inshallah, ta'ala, subhanahu wa ta'ala grants me that time, we will tackle some of these issues. And then we got into some of the Aqidah itself, what subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked, and what he says to the person who becomes a Muslim and who's practicing Muslim. And I got into some of the aspects of that. Then I got into the negative aspects, meaning what subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want. And one of them is remember what I told you terms here, tarif al-kalam, meaning corrupted speech, where the Muslim takes on the Quran and the hadiths. The hadiths are the sayings and the ways and means of the Prophet. I gave you the heights and who do that among the Muslims today. Is their Aqidah problems. I hope that I'm having problems. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. You can, okay. If you guys can see me, I still show, I can, okay, Isaac, you say you can hear me. Am I still frozen? Okay. Okay, good. Okay. So now we're on the second part of our topic today, and we'll cover what promise that subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to our prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And there were 5 things, conditions that he gave to our prophet alayhi salatu wasalam that he did not give to the others, because since our prophet was the seal of all the prophets, and the other generations, meaning our brothers from the Jews and the Christians, who eventually corrupted their religion, as we know, is well documented. I've talked about this on other topics. And subhanahu wa ta'ala said, okay, now the new prophet will come, and he brought forth our prophet Muhammad Abdullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and gave him his prophethood, and it's the seal of the prophet. So he gave these 5 conditions of promises that he would give to him. And one of those was his mercy. He would be a mercy to all mankind and jinn. And anyone understands the jinn or the unseen. And he promised that he would be a mercy to them. And secondly, he promised to protect and the Quran. As you notice, the Injil, which is the Christian gospel, and the Torah have been corrupted, misused, and other books have been created for the Jews and the Christians to follow. As I specified before, there are 140 different versions of the Bible, and many admissions have been destroyed. And the Jews created another book, the Talmud, which they also used. And this was against the wishes of Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Talmud was basically what scholars, the Jewish scholars, created. The Injil was recreated by the Europeans or the Tubab. And he then got this book and, of course, changed it. And it went away from the Torah and began to advocate some things. So Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. And as I specified before, one of these promises that Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave is that the Muslims would memorize their book and they would protect it, where the other two did not memorize their book or protect it. And that's why if it was these books were destroyed and there was no more evidence of it, no one could recite it. The Muslims, we have millions who can recite the Quran. So even if they destroy all the books, we can still call forth those who are Hafiz in Quran. Hafiz means they have memorized the Quran, and we can recreate the Quran again. And this is the promise that Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to our prophet. And three, let me see here. Where are we at here? Okay, yeah. He promised that the prophet, as I said before, was going to be the seal of all prophets, that all of the other religions around the world will be abrogated and that you would have to follow Islam. And we know this to be true because there are other, even in the corrupted Bible, it's mentioning of our prophets. And if you look at the Vedas, the Hindus, what they worship, their book is a mention of our prophet. So all were seen to be aware of our prophet. The Jews also had the prophecy about our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. And so he abrogated, Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him this authority where all other religions would be abrogated, that you would have to follow him. And four, as I mentioned before, the Jews and the Christians changed their books, corrupted their books, and actually practiced, and they still practice this day, that Tarif al-Kalam, that corrupted speech, meaning where they've corrupted their books. And so the prophet will come to in a clear message, which Islam is very clear. It's not hard, with a clear message for everyone in the world to understand. And this is something that is a miracle, because he said that he would be the seal of prophets and that every person will know of Islam. You tell me a place in this world today that nobody knows about Islam. Everybody, I don't care if it's the southern tip of South America, the southern tip of Africa, to the frozen lands in Siberia, in LA, California, or Washington, D.C., Islam is known. And this promise, this miracle is shown. And that, the other is that the fifth, the people who are will be sent basically to the fire if they know that. Okay, look again here. Look. Oh, oh boy. Looks like we're having some problems at work. They can't say that everybody's on the internet. Not this hour, just 2:20 in the morning here in Morocco. So I know that this is our friends. I hope. Okay. Okay. I'll go on here. I'm hoping. I think I'm okay. 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 I look like I'm back on. I just sent a message. I hope everyone can see me and hear me. Okay. Yes. Look like our friends are going or at work again to disrupt this signal. Um, as I was leaving you, I think I left on the fifth condition of our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, and uh, that he was sent. Uh, his message would resonate with all people. This is his fifth promise to the prophet. So those conditions were given to our prophet, and these conditions weren't given to the others, and because he was the seal of the prophets. And it's good to know something that the scholars of the Jews and Christians acknowledge that the prophet existed. And I wish I had opportunity to read. Remember John the Baptist? He had a book that he wrote that the Arians, who were into oneness of God, they didn't believe in the Trinity, and that's what they were persecuted and killed off, basically. And uh, John the Baptist wrote a book about the prophethood and about the ways and means of Tawheed. And this book, the Aryans kept, and they kept it in secret because they knew that the enemies to them wanted to destroy, because they considered them heretics since they did not believe in the Trinity. Book, we know that one of their greatest scholars, the Aryans, talked about, he had the opportunity to meet our prophet, and he did find that John the Baptist, as we know him as Yahya in Arabic, that the seals of the prophethood was on him because he found it in between the blades of his back, and it was as specified by John the Baptist. And so this is something that confirmed that. But this book, we know, was destroyed, and just like many other books of the Christian faith have been destroyed, and we don't know what happened to them, who destroyed them, but they have been destroyed. And this is why we have the confusion, especially with the Christians in their book, the Bible, because there's 140 different versions of it today. And that's quite a shame, because Jesus' Sunnah, his ways and means, have been corrupted, because since the books have been destroyed, the Tubab, the Europeans, took over the Christianity, and they began to change things that fit their customs and their ideals, eating pork and so forth and so on. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala saw that, and he saw the corruption among the Jews themselves as well. And he said, I'm going to send forth another people who will bring forth Tawheed to the end times. And this is what we also know by the hadiths of the Prophet Sallallahu, that we would have this Tawheed, and that the Muslims will be present until the last days. And that's important. That's an important factor. The Aqidah is a important factor among the Muslims, in that without this knowledge of faith, your faith is actually corrupted, as I specified to you before. And the Quran, to have the information on the Quran, we talked about something previously about the corruption, meaning that we have Muslims today who have corrupted, who tried to corrupt the religion, and we have them today. And I talked about that. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala, he knew that this was going to happen. This is why he sent verses down to describe how these people would do it. And to his word is true. And as you heard me speak last week, in our Aqidah, we have those who have tried to hijack the Aqidah by giving false narratives of the Quran and the Sunnah. But Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave many verses in the Quran, like I gave you the 4th surah and the 46th verse. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala brought that down to explain to you, a Muslim, Jew, or Christian, for if you tried to corrupt this book, and what would happen to you, because he would put his adab on you, his punishment on you for this. So subhanahu wa ta'ala know that the enemies will actually come forth, and they are enemies. They say they're Muslims, but in fact, their job is they're working with the devil. And they'll go and you see them on YouTube and so forth, and you see them in beautiful speech, and when in fact they are no more Muslim than some of the most horrid people that we know, like our ex-president here, Trump, who's definitely a disciple of the Dajjal. We know him as the Dajjal, the Antichrist. And so, but they come up, portray themselves as Muslims to corrupt the Muslims into not in believing and to take them away from their deen. So the information about the Quran and Kareem came from the revelations. We have to understand that. And there's all that source from subhanahu wa ta'ala to our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. It's him who gave the interpretation of those revelations. So his book, the Quran, is interpreted by our prophet. Any person that comes forth and says that revelation, or he himself received it, or he himself knows of this revelation and he can decipher it, is a liar. It's not true. We believe in Islam that the greatest source is the book itself, and then our prophet, who we relied on to interpret the book, to spread it for every generation. And so this is the case that we have about the information inside the Quran and about the revelation from subhanahu wa ta'ala to our prophet. And so again, I explained last week, it goes from the revelation to the book, and then our prophet who deciphers the book, and then he put it in his ways and means that we copy today. And the meaning of this is, like I explained to you, subhanahu wa ta'ala described many times about praying inside the Quran, but he doesn't specify the number of times per se. He doesn't tell you how many prostrations that you do for each prayer. So this is a key aspect. And the hadiths of the ways and means of our prophet, in there, our prophet gives what you should do for the first prayer of the day, the two prostrations, and then the mid-morning or early afternoon prayer. You get four prostrations, rakats in Arabic. And so this is a important factor that anyone who comes forth with any type of revelations, that they have some special revelation or a way of deciphering, is not true. Don't follow him. He's a liar and an imposter, because it's impossible. Because we get all our truths and our proofs from the Quran and from the Sunnah, and we get it also from the companions. Remember, as I explained to you before. So it runs down from the Quran to the Sunnah or Prophet, and then if you can't understand it from that point, then you go to the companions of the Prophet. Then if you can't understand it still, and you still need more verifications, you go to the first three generations, and then generations after that. You still can't understand it, then you get to the scholars of our great scholars, like the four great imams and their particular doctrines, which take you to the Sunnah. And those four doctrines we'll talk about one of these days, inshallah, as well, because they were our greatest imams, and it brought the greatest proofs to us that about Islam. And so to follow one of these great imams is a plus, and it is a shortcut to the Quran and Sunnah. So I gave you how you can understand the Quran. Any deviation from that, it's wrong. So for the Muslim, he should understand these revelations, going to the Prophet, and then the Prophet deciphering it, and then the companions who were taught. They were there with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam when he received those revelations, and therefore you can learn from them, which we do have. We still learn from them, and then the other generations. So I wanted to make that clear, because that's an important factor. And I would say also to you about the madhabs, the doctrines, the four doctrines. There are those who are fanatics, and literally, I mean fanatics, and you be careful then. You'll see them on YouTube. They'll talk about a particular doctrine. Okay, I give you an example like Maliki. Here in Morocco, they follow the Maliki jurisdiction, meaning that they take from his rulings, his aspects. And remember something, never let anyone tell you that there's a Maliki Quran, or this a Shafi'i Quran, or a Hanbali Quran, or a Hanafi Quran. It's not true. There's only one Quran, and they only follow the Sunnah. But we have fanatics today. I mean, everything for them is about the doctrine, and it's wrong. And don't follow those who do that. They're to the point where you have a Shafi'i, say a Maliki, and then the sister, she's Shafi'i, and the brother is Maliki, and they can't marry. This is type of stuff that's still going on today. This is fanaticism. It is wrong. But I wanted to clear that up because I know there's Muslims and imams inside the United States. I had wars with some of them where everything that was madhab. You get up in the morning with madhab. What did the madhab say? When you go to the restroom, it's about the madhab. If you go walking down the street, it's about the madhab, meaning the doctrine. Which doctrine are you, when you walk to the master, which doctrine are you following? I mean, it's really, 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 really bad. I'm hoping everybody can hear me now. I'm starting to get little notices again here that I'm starting to have problems again. I'm hoping that I can finish off here because our friends are really at work. Okay, I'm talking about the information, the revelations from the Quran, and I talked about the serious verse in the Quran, which is Surah 4, and the verse is 46. And as I already specified, the seriousness of this particular verse, warning you, don't be corrupted. And also there's others I gave you last week where Subhanahu wa ta'ala warns you, don't talk about him unless you have the knowledge. And that brings to a point, again, that the tafsir of the Quran, there's a science and there's a method to it. You follow that method in order to do the tafsir. The tafsir is the explanation of the Quran. You have to be taught this. And you can't just take the Quran and just get a verse and then you interpret it as you want. It's going to be rejected. We had almost 1,400 years of scholarship, and our greatest scholars, you learn from them. And this is how you understand the explanation of the Quran. We just can't take it today and create our own. You follow the methods of our greatest scholars. This is part of Tawheed Aqeedah, which is the oneness of faith, and that's another topic. But that you follow them, and this is how you can learn the religion, because the tafsir, the explanation of the Quran, is not easy, and there's ways that you have to do that. And as explained last week, you have a verse, you must find the verse, another verse complementary to this verse, either abrogation of it or a complementary to this. This is one part of the tafsir that you have to understand. And then you go to that, and then you look for the hadiths to complement or abrogate the verse. So these are some of the things that that this science entails about the explanation of the Quran, which is very important. And here also we'll talk about the differences that occur among the Muslims as far as the interpretation somewhat of the ways and meaning of the Prophet and some of the things of the Quran. Those interpretations are very small. Like today, the four schools today differ as far as some issues of the what I would call the marriage. We have marriage, and there's the things that we follow when you marry. They differ somewhat in that. Not all, but every single one are 100% in agreement on the Aqeedah. That's the key. So remember something, someone comes from some of these one doctrine like Maliki or Shafi'i or Hanbali or Hanafi, and they come to you and come with some, some Aqidah, some doctrine of faith that's way out. Don't follow it. Ignore it. And I'm giving you ammunition so you can fight them, because you'd be surprised. You'll come across the masjid and an imam, and he'll be talking from outer space, and you need to understand your faith. And it's important that the doctrine that you do go to is that you understand that particular doctrine, and that you understand that that the greatest proof. Again, if I give you an example, say Abina and I were discussing some issue about wudu, say for instance, and we debate about that, and she disagrees. I give her something, and then Abina tells me that she believes something else. So how do we reconcile that? We go back to the original sources. We go to the Quran. If we can't find it there, then we go to the hadiths. In the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ, who talks about prayer, and there's many of the great scholars who wrote books about the hadith. That's how we learn. And in there, like Tirmidhi, I call him Sheikh Salat, because he has a whole section on Salat, the ins and outs of the Salat. So we go there and we find our answers. Say our sister Abina was right in what she had told me, because she found it in the hadiths. And so this is how we reconcile problems among us. We don't reconcile them with our own our power or what we feel. If there's a dispute between two of us, we go back to the original sources again, the Quran and the Sunnah, and that's how we find out. And if it's still unclear, then we get our learned persons, the people of knowledge, and the men of knowledge. Men of knowledge are our scholars, and that's is very important. So I want that picture to get placed in the heart. What we're trying to do here, I'm arming you as a Muslim so that you can see how your faith is being hijacked, but you be armed, like you have armor. When these abrogations come before you, you'll know your Aqidah. And so you'll be able to fight it, and you'll be able to walk away from this. And this is very, very important for Muslims, because we get lost many times. We'll hear a person talk, and we can't decipher, and we don't have the ammunition to fight the person or to ask them questions. I said last week to our brothers and sisters about some who come on YouTube, and they talk, and you hear them give tafsir of the Quran. And as I specified before, it was wrong. If you're in that chat room, you have the right as a Muslim to go forth and ask, hey, look, Yahya, I hear you talk. What is your proof? Where are you going by? They must give you that proof. They must give you that proof from the Quran or the Sunnah. And if they can't do that, it has to be rejected. And that's an important part for you to be armed as you go forward. Now you go to the talks of Islam, you hear the Muslims talk, and if there's something that's unclear, you ask the speaker, well, can you give me your proof so I can understand? So that way you can verify, because all the four doctrines said the same thing. None of them said you follow them blindly. They all said that if you find something that they have said is wrong, that you can bring forth the proof, then they accept that. And this is our ideal. So again, be armed by knowing your faith. It's important. I wanted to give you something too. The Jews in particular are very versed at prophethood. They were given certain, their scholars handed down certain information about if a person is a prophet or not. The Jews actually issued fatwas, meaning religious rulings about our prophet, meaning some, they knew they had to follow them, had to follow the new prophet, which is our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. But many of them didn't, out of hate and racism. And they did not want the prophethood to be come through an Arab. They didn't want that. But many of the Jewish scholars, they didn't care. They followed according to what they were taught. And when they asked the Prophet ﷺ a question that only a prophet would know, there was a series of questions that were asked. The Prophet had to answer these questions. And so he asked subhanahu wa ta'ala, this would verify his prophethood. He asked subhanahu wa ta'ala, a question in reference to this because he did not know it, and he asked Subhanahu wa Taala to give him this information, and then Subhanahu wa Taala gave him this information. So he went back to the Jewish scholars and gave the information back to them, and it verified that he was truly a prophet. And from this point, many followed him, but others, out of hatred and racism, did not want to follow him. And that's a whole different subject in itself. But I had to mention that because I wanted clear that we have many Jews did follow. And we have Jews today who are converting to Islam, who actually learned the truth about Islam, and that their famous scholars did say we should follow the new prophet. And when they heard that, now they're starting to come to Islam. Alhamdulillah, I'm happy to see that. Okay, as we go on here, the message that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala was given to our prophet is easy. It's a clear message. And anyone who understands anything about the religion, it is very clear. It's only made difficult by others. But when you read the Quran and you understand it and the hadiths to understand the Quran, you see how simple it is. It tells you make ablution before prayer. I mean, simple things, how to eat right, what not to do. It's very clear. How to treat your wife, how the wife treat your husband, and how the children should be raised. I mean, it's clear. And Subhanahu wa Ta'ala promised that to our prophet, Islam. He made it very clear. It is clear. Today, if you look at the Christians and the Jews, it's very confusing because if you go to around the corner, someone else is practicing something else, and he said he's a Christian, and same with the Jews. They have Orthodox Jews, and then you have the modern Jews today, and they too are in confusion about who is really a Jew or not. And the Christians also have this problem about who is truly a Christian, because since they have 140 different Bibles, they have many different varieties and many different sects of Christianity, which causes confusion. The Muslims, we're not there yet, where we're starting to have this confusion because of the enemy has infiltrated us and begin to give us lies, and we start to believe that. That's why it's essential that you understand your Aqeedah, so that way you can fight this and not follow the imposters, the persons who mislead you from the deen. And the clear method, the clear message from our prophet, it is very clear. Once Subhanahu wa Ta'ala comes to your heart, you'll see Islam for what it is: peace and a clear direction and a way of life. Once you see that, you will understand that. And it's simple. It's simple. It's not hard. It's very easy to follow. It tells you to worship him only. What's hard about that? It doesn't tell you to go to another person to worship. It tells you to go to him to worship. He asks you when you have a problem, you don't go to the cafe to talk among the brothers and ask them. No, you ask Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for direction. And speaking of that, and I'll move on to this other part here. We are ordered as Muslims to keep company of our same, meaning the mu'mineen, the people who are strong believers, they should keep other strong believers close to them. So that way you strengthen each other. This is important to know, that you strengthen each other to keep your faith going. If you are a strong Muslim and you go around with weak Muslims, people who are, maybe they're fornicating, drinking, they don't pray, they may corrupt you. So you as a Muslim, if you're strong in your belief, you try to find strong believers to hang around, to be around them, to keep your faith, so that way you will have a unity, that you will strengthen one another. Because there's a lot of weak Muslims out there today, and they're happy when they take you from your faith, meaning your strength of your faith. An example of that is you start hanging around 3 or 4 guys, and here they're Dan. They know it's time to go pray. You as a strong Muslim say, hey, look, you hear the Dan, the call to prayer. It's time for us to go pray. The weak Muslims say, hey, look, we can pray anytime we want. Don't worry about that. And you start acting on that. We don't want you to do that. We're taught that the strong Muslim, if you have strong Muslims and you guys hang around together, then you all hear the adhan, you all walk together to the masjid. That strengthens each other. This is important among us, because we have a lot of people today who are trying to take you away from Islam, and they're more than happy to take you out from things, especially for prayer. They don't want to see you praying. So those are important factors as far as the information is about Islam and whatnot. And as I said to you before, we call them munafiq. These are the hypocrites in the faith. Part of our faith is we have to recognize these people, the munafiq, the hypocrite, who will tell you one thing and then he will do another. And we have them, believe me. And some of them look just like me. They may have beards, the ima, and so forth, but in their heart, they're not truly Muslim. And they will try to take you away from the religion. And that's why I keep saying, harping on the Al-Qaeda, you should learn this, because without that, you can get led astray, and that'll send you to the fire, and you don't want that. And so, my dear sisters and brothers, with that said, we have to always understand that our religion today is being attacked, and we've been attacked, viciously, and especially our sisters of the faith are being attacked. This is why it's important that you understand your creed, your Aqidah. We have sisters having their hijab removed when they get on the buses, or they go into some place and somebody grab their hijab and remove it. We know in Europe, the famous beaches there where people are practically naked, okay, not hiding anything. And then the sister comes with the proper clothing to conceal her beauty and her ornaments. And the police will come over to her, hey, no, you can't do that. You must strip. All these type of things is happening today. We're being under attack. And it's something. And on the side note, it's just like me. I talk to my wife about this sometimes, and she sees too. I open up the YouTube or whatever, and I go and I can't find some of the scholar friends I have, and they've been blocked. But yet still, when I open up the YouTube or the Facebook, I find naked women. They send naked women in my thing, and I know they're laughing and joking. But the scholars who I try to converse with, they try to block us. They don't want that. But they'll send pornography to my YouTube or to Facebook. This is what I'm talking about, how we're under attack. And you have to maintain your deen by understanding it and learning it. And I'll go to the part here that, as I said, the enemies are after us a lot. One of the important factors in your Aqidah is the command of Allah and following it. This is something that you can't pick and choose. My dear sisters and brothers, we cannot be like the other faiths in this regard. Our prophet and our subhanahu wa ta'ala and our prophet has given us rules. We must follow. We can't pick and choose and say, well, we like this and we dislike this. No, you follow and you obey. Remember, I used the Arabic term, sema-ata'a, I listen and obey. That means even if you do not understand that command, you follow it without question. You don't sit there and over coffee and then call people and say, look, I was told to do this, and you debate it. No, you follow it. This is what we're supposed to do as Muslims, that we follow what the command of subhanahu wa ta'ala is. This is an important factor. Why I say that? Because the Muslims who live in the Western countries, Europe, America, Canada, are under siege. We know that. I lived there 50 years. It's under siege. We know that. You walk down the street, you have half naked women and whatnot. You see homosexuality that's in the clear. Now they can marry. You have open sexual misconduct. You have all of this going on in your presence, and you're a Muslim. You're living in this environment. It's important that you don't weaken, and we have Muslims who have weakened, who still are Muslims, but they're barely hanging on to their faith. But they fornicate. They stop. They stop to even pray. Some even now have taken to liquor because their friends are doing it, and so the faith especially in America, is being under attack. You have to remember something. There's no American Islam. There's only one Islam. There's no European Islam. There's no Moroccan Islam or Canadian Islam. There's only one Islam. And don't let the area that you live, that you use the excuse because the devil's talking to you, say, look, yeah, you know what? You live in LA. So if you're in Africa, if you're living in a Muslim state, then you follow this. But since you're in LA, you don't have to. Why don't you go ahead and date the girl? She wants to go out with you. The devil is talking to your heart to tell you to do this. You know that under Islam, you cannot do something like that. You can't go date a woman, especially if you're married. You cannot date, and go and, and fornicate with other women. It is a grave sin, and it's a punishment. It's a deep punishment in that. And maybe one of these days too, inshallah, we'll go over some of the crimes and punishment in our Sharia, because the Sharia is under attack as well. The Ahkam Allah, the command and the provisions of Allah, we have to follow it. Now, here's the tricky part, my dear brothers and sisters. Those that live in America, in particular, since I lived in America, I never lived in Europe. Now, how about voting? And you have these people who are non-Muslims and even Muslims. The rule is that we're not to vote because they're not practicing Muslims as one. Secondly, they don't follow the Sharia, the Ahkam of Allah. They don't follow his command. Third, the laws of the land are not benefiting the Muslims. So whoever you vote in office, your fate is still going to be the same. There's going to be Islamic phobia everywhere you go. So you have no, there's nothing that you can do. Even if you put another Muslim in power, he can't change anything. And so part of our Aqeedah is that you maintain the Sharia. That's right, my dear brothers and sisters. You must maintain the Sharia, even if you live in LA or Dallas or in Mobile, Alabama, or Jackson, Mississippi, or Washington, D.C., or Baltimore, Maryland. You must maintain the Sharia. Even if you live outside of a Muslim country, you're still responsible for the Sharia. You must, the Islamic law, you must abide by that. Now, that doesn't mean that you can disobey the laws of the land. No. And the ruling on that is that you obey. And if there's a ruling under the democratic or communist way of life, you're supposed to migrate. This is the general ruling, because you do not want to compromise your religion. So, but it's very difficult, as we know today, to migrate anywhere with the virus going on and all the restraints that the U.S. government has put on a lot of Muslims. So it's very difficult. So you almost have to stay put in the area that you live. So it's important that you understand that you must maintain the Sharia as a Muslim. There's no excuse for that. Meaning, our dear sisters, you can't say a sister, like say we got one of our sisters, she said, you know what? I'm not living in Morocco. I'm not living in Saudi Arabia, so I can remove my hijab. I can walk down the street half naked. No, you can't. You still must maintain that sanctity that Subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered you to do in Surah Nur, which is Surah 24 and verse 30. Subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you directions about you as a woman. You must maintain, and the man as well, your ornaments, meaning that I walk down the street, I should not be able to see you and reveal your contours, your body contours. I should not be able to see the beauty of your hair. You should be covered, so I cannot see you in that regard. And you must maintain that, and that's important, my sisters. You must maintain that. Even if you live in the United States, and I know it's sometimes it's very difficult, because you see sisters and you say, well, I don't understand why all these girls getting these men. They're naked, they're walking around with a lot of perfume, and men are going after them. That's not what you want. You want to be honored and respected. The sisters who are walking down the street naked and men are coming after them, they're not respecting them. You think about that. They only have one objective at hand. You want a man who wants you not for what your ornaments are, but what you are as a person, as a woman, and you want him to respect you. And how does he respect you? If he can't see what you have and you're not giving that to him, he's going to respect you. He's going to see the other things in you. This is what we want in Islam. As a Muslim woman, we want our brothers to see you for your education, for the way you handle yourself, how, and how you handle your marriage and your children and how you take care of your home. We want our brothers concentrating on that, but they can't concentrate on that when you are walking around naked, because it's hard. And we know that men are weak, and woman has a power over them when they see her in this type of light. The Aqeedah tells us that the sister must obey Allah, meaning she must cover herself. When you cover yourself, those thoughts that I have when I'm walking down the street, I see you, is gone. Why? Because I can't see the contours of your body. And if you're walking normally, not walking in such a fashion and wearing a lot of perfume, because Muslim women can't wear perfume outside the house. And that's another issue we get into. That's important, that they cannot do that. So the ideals that I'm explaining to you now is part of our Aqeedah. You must maintain the Sharia Islamiyah. Now, the second part to that, you have the democratic ways of mean, you have communist ways of mean, you have Taoism, you have different types of governance, you have white nationalist governments, you have, all this stuff. Muslims are living there. Now, what about that, Yahya? No, you must maintain the Sharia. Even if you're in Russia, even if you're in LA, you must maintain that. And the proof of that is Surah 4, which is again Nisa, the Surah of the woman. It's interesting how Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you the Surah of the woman. Yes, that's how Subhanahu wa ta'ala put importance on the woman. Yes, importance on the woman. This Surah here, and also Surah Maryam too. The importance of a chaste, beautiful woman. And so Subhanahu wa ta'ala promoted that in our religion. And this is what I'm talking about now. So Surah 4, verse 141, Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in that verse that he will not put the ways of the disbelievers over a believer. That's important to know. Meaning that democratic ways of mean, communist ways of mean, Taoism ways of mean, the white nationalism governments and so forth and so on like this, he will not allow that to be placed over Muslims. Now, if you as a Muslim go into that, you have just violated that. You cannot judge by that. This is the second part to this. You're in LA and we're still Muslims. You must judge your brother by the Sharia. That's right. And our sisters by the Sharia. You cannot use the democratic ways of mean, meaning you can't go adopt the democratic ways of mean and then govern your Muslims under that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid you that. That's why that surah came out. Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you in Surah Nisa and verse 141 that he will not allow for that type of, that does not believe in him and his ways, his Sharia, to govern another Muslim. So don't put that on another Muslim. You can't. It's forbidden to do that. And part of our Aqeedah also is no Muslim turns another Muslim over to a disbeliever so he can kill him. And you heard me specify this on other shows. We cannot do this. Again, that verse 141, Surah 4, explains that. You do not. And in our prophet, in the hadiths, he said, you do not surrender your brother to the disbelievers, to his enemies. You cannot do that. I don't care what has been said. Now, we go to an issue here. If we have Muslim gangsters, Muslim criminals who are bombing cafes, who are killing Muslims, Christians, Jews, atheists, and so forth, that's a different situation altogether. We're not talking about that type of person. But if we can, we get those people and we still try to judge them under the Sharia, and we have crimes and punishment laws that go after them. But the Muslim criminal who's out there robbing and stealing and so forth and so on, you deal with them. But in the same token, what I mean by that is, say like here in Morocco, which I can only specify my situation. Since I'm in my situation here in Morocco, my wife can testify to this. The the American government doesn't like to see African Americans like me living in Africa. They don't like that. They don't like to see African American Muslims. So they want the governments to basically throw us out. A good Muslim doesn't listen to that. He doesn't listen to that because he knows the Sharia. He knows the Surah for the Hayat 41. So like in my situation like that, they said no to that because they wanted to get me, because since I talk against them, they said I'm an extremist, I'm a terrorist, I'm all kind of other things like this. But the good Muslim who's strong, he will not do this. This is part of our Aqidah. You don't hurt your brother. You don't kill your brother. You don't steal from your brother. You protect your brother, and the Muslim Ummah protects one another. This is part of our faith. This is essential, and you see that going by the wayside today. We have Muslims who don't protect other Muslims. They go to assist the Tubabs and the white nationalists against other Muslims. That is not in our faith. There's nothing in there saying that you could do that. There's nothing. It's exact opposite in the hadiths the Prophet gave us, and also the Quran under Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, because but we have Muslims doing that, and you should take them to task for those who do that. The Sharia Islamiyah is important for us as Muslims because it's part of the Ahkam Allah, the command Allah. You as a Muslim must abide by that. Again, I cannot emphasize that. If you live in LA, I know it's hard. I lived in LA 50 years. I understand how that is, but you still must maintain that, my dear brothers and sisters. So in recap of what has happened tonight, our Lord, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, has given our Prophet 5 conditions, beautiful conditions. One is to preserve his book, meaning even if our enemies came to ransack all the Muslim countries, they took every Quran in the world and they burnt it. We have people who have memorized our book, so we can create millions of books again. So they go and burn those millions, but we still keep having people to memorize. And as we speak, there's thousands memorizing every day. So they can never destroy the word of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. They have destroyed the Jewish religion and the Christianity religion. They have destroyed that because when their books are destroyed, they cannot function. That's why you see they have a lot of turmoil, because they have books, 140 different versions of books. So Subhanahu wa Ta'ala said, I'm going to send a prophet to stop or to abrogate that. He did. He sent our prophet, alayhi salam, and sent him to give a clear message to bring people back to what? To Tawheed, meaning the oneness of God, and to preserve his book. This is beautiful. And that our Lord, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, gave a certain type of protection as far as spreading the word of our prophet, okay, his dawah, and our Subhanahu wa Ta'ala's religion to everybody in the world. As I specified, you tell me a place in the world where they never heard of Islam. Every household in this world, I don't care if they live even in the forests, deep forests of South America and Africa. If you ask them questions, they'll tell you, yeah, we heard of Islam. Everybody's heard of Islam. Okay, everybody. So Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, what he said is true, that the prophet and will guide this religion to where it'll be around the world and everyone know it. He was sent as a mercy in mankind. And it's true, because he was the best of creations. Our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, was the best of creations. And speaking on that topic, I asked the brothers and sisters a question about this. If you say you're Muslim, but yet you do not know our prophet, and many don't, alayhi salatu wasalam, they don't know. They know Prophet Muhammad, but they say they're Muslim, but they can't tell you how many wives he had. They can't even give you his history. They can't tell you about his prophethood. That's interesting, isn't it? So you have to be taught this through the Aqidah and learning and studying. And how can you say that you are worshiping Muslim when the prophet that you are following, you don't know him? I mean, it's like you going blindly. So why are you following the Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wasalam? So you should know all of these things about him in order to strengthen your deen. Because what we see now is that the enemies and Shaitan, the devil, sends his soldiers out to the Muslims. And he tries to, and since they see now that there's weakness among the Muslims, they try to take you away. And one of that is blocking your knowledge so you don't understand who the Prophet ﷺ was. This is a fact. And we know that the devil today is going after the Muslim woman. We know that. This is why it's imperative for our sisters to be strong in the faith, because you are the first teacher. And so therefore we need you strong in order to teach our future generations. And when the devil comes to you to tell you, look, you were ordered to put the hijab on, you were ordered to do this, you were ordered to do that. But look, there's a better way. You live in LA. You see all the sisters walking down the street half naked. You do the same thing. Don't worry, no problem. Don't follow that. You follow what is ordered by Allah. So our prophet was given a clear message, and that protection of the Quran, and then also the Sunnah, and we have it, and we are protecting it as best we can today. And my dear sisters and brothers, and to recap further, we talked about the corruption of the Bible, and we talked about the corruption of the Torah as well. And we see that we're talking about the attempted corruption today of the Quran. You as a Muslim must protect the Quran and the Sunnah. You must do that. It's imperative that you protect it. How do you protect it? By getting knowledge about it. Okay? Learning the Quran and learning the hadiths. That's how you protect it. You don't protect it necessarily with a gun. You can't. You protect it by arming yourself with information. Like now, I'm giving you things you can use to arm yourself against the hypocrites and against the enemies who would want to fight you. And so, therefore, the greatest tool that you have in your defense of what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala wants you to do as a Muslim and a Muslimah who's a female Muslim is to learn his book, learn it, and learn the hadiths and follow it. This is the greatest thing. To me, I just started out basically 15 years, and if one of these the hypocrites come to me to try to take me, and they do, I have that happen many times. They'll try to take me from my belief, but because I study and I worship and I always pray, I talk to them in such a way. My wife can tell you it's not a joke, but I have a way of talking to them to get them to go away from me. But I'm arming myself daily with information to fight the party of the devil. And this is what this is. The party of the devil is going everywhere to defeat the Muslims. And our sisters, as I recap again, our sisters, imperative for you to maintain the orders of Subhanahu wa Ta'ala as well. You maintain yourself. You keep yourself chaste. You don't follow what your other sisters of other faiths are doing. And don't get into traps. And let me give you one. I think I gave one, and I'll be closing here in a few minutes. I gave you a sister who got twisted. She was a strong Muslimah. She got mixed up in this feminist movement, and she left out of one Muslim country. I won't name it because it's documented, and she has something on YouTube about that. It's sad. She got hooked up. She wanted, because there was some things going on in her country against the Muslim woman that was wrong. But the devil began to eat at her, and he began to make her go away from the deen. And he said, look, why don't you come to join this feminist movement? So she did. She joined it. So when she stepped into this big conference, they saw her and they saw she had a hijab. They didn't say nothing to her. They had their conference and so forth, and they were going on. That night, she went to her hotel room. There was a door, boom, boom, on the door. There were two women. They came here to have sex with her. She testifies about that now. You understand what I'm talking about, my dear sisters? The parties of Shaitan are everywhere. Our dear sisters, this sister here was misled because she was so angry about what was happening to her and the sisters in her country that she let the devil come into her heart, to the point to where she got a visa to come in the United States to go to this conference. And now she was coming to grips with this type of activity where these two women came to have sex with her inside of her hotel room. That's right. And she fought that off. And from that point, she made Toba, meaning she made repentance to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and that she would be patient. And she got away from that movement. This is what I'm talking about, my dear sisters and brothers. The party of Shaitan is everywhere, and they're trying to get you to do many things. You have to be strong. And we know our sisters are on attack, and our brothers are too as well. And the last of this, our prophet was given a prophethood to spread his deen, as I said before. It's imperative for you to learn it, to keep it in your heart, and to worship, and to learn the Arabic language. I can't stress that more. Why? Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you in many spots in the Quran that he sent this, he revealed this in the Arabic language for you to understand. Arabic, the Quranic Arabic is hard, yes, but if you try, Subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you this, inshallah. I was from LA. I couldn't speak one word, not even understand anything of it. But I kept praying and asking Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he granted me this. Alhamdulillah. And I hope that for you, where I can pick up his book, I can read it in the language that it was revealed in. I can go to the hadiths and read it as it was revealed to our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. The book that I'm using about the Aqeedah today is in Arabic. It is a beautiful book. And I should write that down for those who speak Arabic. I don't know, because I have to write that in Arabic. It's in Arabic. But if anybody wants to know this book, they can write here in the chat, or they can write in the comment section, and I can give you the title of the book. It's in Arabic. And our dear brother who wrote this book on the Aqeedah, it is so simple. He's breaking down the Aqeedah, and this is what I'm giving you today from him. I went back to class again to relearn it, because you should, because there's things that you forget. And I've done this, and I'm doing it as I speak, because as a Muslim, you have to keep your education going to the grave until you can't learn anymore, and that's time of death. And you have to continue to learn. And so that is something that I always do, and my wife can testify to that. I'm always studying. I'm always studying, learning, and trying to take classes to improve myself. This is what you have to do, my sisters and brothers. I know that the rat race in the United States is very difficult. Even if you spend 15, 20 minutes a day or every other day, if you can, to learn about your deen, and try to see if you can get to Arabic. If you can, that'd be a plus for your deen. And my dear brothers and sisters that are in the chat, I'm happy that you did show up today. And those who are not in the chat, who are looking elsewhere, that you came today to hear your brother speak on the fundamentals of the Aqeedah. And I hope that you got something out of that. And I want to say also, my dear sisters and brothers, I'm not here for any competition. I always want you to know this. I'm not here for any competition that's happening on YouTube. No, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for trying to gain money. I'm trying to get the credit from Subhanahu wa ta'ala, the azure from Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to spread the deen among the Muslims, among my community, the African Americans, the Africans, the melanated people of this world. I want to give you what I know. What I'm still a student of knowledge, and I want to give you what I know. And as you know, my record so far, as those who know me, I am kind and considerate according to our tradition with believers, but I'm stern against the disbelievers and the hypocrites. And as you saw last week, we have hypocrites who are on YouTube. I have to say it again, who are giving you some information on the Quran and the Sunnah that is wrong. And you must not follow them. You must ask them where they're getting their proofs from. Many can't explain that. And I'm hard on them because they're misleading. As a matter of fact, as I explained last week, I went to some of them. I've talked to some of them, and they rejected it. Now, what does that tell you about them as Muslims? They rejected the counsel I gave them. I gave them the proofs from the Quran that they cannot do this, and they ignored it. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? Yes, they ignored it. And so I'm stern against the hypocrites and those who fight the Muslims, but I'm kind and understanding and forgiving towards the believers. This is what our Prophet's mission, if you see in the Quran, Subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him to be this way. You'll see it. It's there. You read the Quran, you'll find this particular verse there, where Prophet ﷺ tells in there, Subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet to be kind and considerate towards the believers, and to be stern against the hypocrites and the disbelievers who fight us. And this is, I take this sunnah from him, and I want to protect you. So when you see me here, if there's questions, you have a question about something, you can get a hold of me. A matter of fact, I'll put that, if you need to get a hold of me, I'll give you my email and I'll send it to you, so that way you can get a hold of me if you want. If you have any questions in reference to Islam, don't hesitate. Give me a ring. There it is there. And I don't have my link to WhatsApp. I forgot it to get it, and I'll get that. But if you have any questions, my dear sisters and brothers, you send me shoot out something to me. If you've seen something on YouTube that you don't quite understand, and you see some of these people that I talk about, and they give you some verse in the Quran, and you don't understand what they're talking about, there's a good reason you don't understand, because they themselves don't understand what they said. Get a hold of me and let me know, okay? And I'll answer that question for you. And lastly, here I want to remind you again the importance of why we need to learn the Quran and the Sunnah. Remember, I gave you an example of one sister, African American sister, and her husband. They were contemplating Islam, and one of these people that I'm very angry with, and I've had dealings with this person before, who gave the wrong information to the sister, and it almost caused a divorce between her husband and her. And because he took the verse out of the Quran and he gave something wrong, and I corrected it. Lo and behold, somebody got a hold of me to tell me about it. I corrected it. That's why it's important that you understand your religion. And those people that are student of knowledge, don't hesitate. There's something that you don't understand, you have my email, and then you can get a hold of me and ask me questions. If I can't get the answer to you at that very second, I will give you that answer, because it's important. Because I don't want to see what has happened, where this guy who's been on YouTube give the wrong information that almost led to a divorce between a brother and sister that should not have been. If he said, I didn't know, it'd been better for him. But he did. He said, yes, I confirmed that this verse, and come to find out this verse was abrogated by Subhanahu wa ta'ala, and our prophet also abrogated this particular verse. If he would have said that, he could have saved this, but luckily, alhamdulillah, I saved the marriage. They came to Islam, and so I'm assuming they're still practicing it. So my dear sisters and brothers, thank you very much for showing up. I will continue this series, inshallah, maybe Friday, inshallah. If you guys have any suggestions, if this is a good time for you, you can shoot me some suggestions. Let me know, because I'm here to serve you and to help you in the deen, our religion. And this is my objective. Again, I'm not here for the subscriptions. I'm not here for that. If I get the average from Subhanahu, I'm happy for that day. If I know I reached that one person, I'm happy, because I'm not here to compete with the people on YouTube. I'm not that. I want to spread the religion of Subhanahu wa ta'ala to everyone, so everyone can have it, understand the beautiful. That makes me tick. Not how many subscribers, how much money I get, and so forth. Not having wars on YouTube with others over subscriptions and so forth and so on. That's shameful. That's shameful. I'm not into that. I'm into one thing only: spreading the deen of Subhanahu wa ta'ala, being courteous and considerate to our brothers and sisters, being kind and considerate to disbelievers as well. Those who do not fight us, we're ordered to be kind towards those too. That's the understanding that we have in our Sunnah, that the Muslim is kind to everyone, even if he worships the fire, you still treat him with respect. Those that you fight you for your faith, that's different. You stern against them. But the ones who don't fight you for your faith, you show them mercy. If they live next door to you, this is part of our custom. You show them mercy. There's nothing wrong for you going there and offer them food. This dawah is an invitation. Show how the Muslim custom goes. There's nothing wrong with that. You go to them. Those who fight you, you stern against them. Be stern against them according to our Sunnah and our Sharia. You stern against those people like that. There's nothing. You are within the Sunnah when you go to fight them. Meaning you argue with them, you protect yourself. But those who are not Muslims, who are kind to you, like our relatives, our sisters, our brothers, our children, our friends, no, you treat them with respect and kindness. That's our order from our Prophet, ﷺ. There's nothing saying that you must mistreat them. So in closing, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to thank you guys. Thank you, my dear brothers and sisters who showed up again today. And Assalamu alaikum, Awadi. I'm glad that showed up here today. And my dear brothers and sisters, I'll close here with my greetings to you, and that my wish and my hope that Subhanahu wa Ta'ala protects you, and that he continues to protect our deen and protect you from the parties of shaitan that are out there trying to take you, bring you to their way of life. And I'm hoping Subhanahu wa Ta'ala protects you from that, and keep you safe and in harmony, and that you protect your families from the craziness of this hizb, this party of shaitan that's everywhere in the world now, that he protect you from that. So my dear brothers and sisters, I leave you with our greetings of peace and security. Salamu alaikum, rahmatullahi, barakatuh.